Hey guys, Sugar Happy John coming at you with another Awaken Chaos Era video. Today's video is going to be about the 5 most underrated legendaries within Awaken Chaos Era. Alright, so today's video what we're going to talk about is in my opinion, the 5 most underrated legendaries that are within Awaken Chaos Era that almost nobody uses, or the people that do use them, I don't think really understand the true value of where they could be using them, and what kind of aspect or what do they bring to the table, so to speak. So first off, let's go ahead and let's talk about a free-to-play character that's a legendary that everybody can get, and I think everybody sleeps on. And it took me a little while to understand why this character is so good, and I kind of want to bring it to light. We'll do a dedicated video on them very shortly as well because they are very impactful. That character is going to be Tia. She's the #1 most underrated character in the game. She is free-to-play friendly, being as she can be synthesized, and out of these characters, I mean, chances are you're going to pull them at some point in time in the game. I guess I shouldn't say it's 100% free-to-play friendly, because you are reliant upon getting these. It's not like you confuse these characters, which that is a difference between free-to-play friendly and not. However, it is a way for you to take some epics that you more than likely are not going to use, and then turn them into a legendary that you could definitely use. So let's talk about Tia, and let's explain why she is the character that is so underrated and that you should definitely be using. So let's go grab her kit, and we're going to talk about her pretty quickly, mainly because some of this is pretty redundant, right? So first things first, her ultimate ability is which got a buff, mind you, did get a buff, is an AoE. It does a frozen aspect here. Now this frozen is very impactful in the game, and a lot of people sleep on frozen. The reason being is because the target is unable to act. It takes 50% more damage from all sources. Attacks on the target have 50% chance to remove this effect. So even though it's applied, if you do another attack on them, there's a 50% chance that it's going to come off of them. But however, the very next hit after they are frozen, they're going to take 50% more damage. This is like a built-in defensive down, which can be stacked with defensive down. This is why this is so impactful. Like this one ability helped me beat Void Tower Hard 100. Not this rendition, but the last rendition. Made it super simple. Okay, the other thing we're going to talk about is it's 120% damage AoE. So this means she can actually do some damage, right? Most time, on average, about 100% AoE is the norm. This is 20% above that, on top of being able to randomly place the frozen aspect on someone, right? It's not guaranteed. It's a 50% chance to apply frozen on the enemies for 1 turn. The chance to trigger is increased to 80% if the enemy is affected by frostbite. So if they're already affected by frostbite, this goes up to 80%. So say it doesn't land on the first time, but then they have frostbite later, she does it again, more chance to freeze. Okay, it's very impactful, extremely impactful, and does a lot of damage, especially the single target, because a single target gets 170% of the damage. Okay, next let's talk about our A2. Deal 180% damage to an enemy and applies 2 stacks of frostbite for 2 turns. Frostbite is essentially like a slow, right? Minus 10% speed. And once this gets up to 5 stacks, this means they're gonna get frozen, which then means they're gonna take more damage, right? This is on a 3-turn cooldown, so this procs pretty often, and it's 180% damage. For A1, once again, frostbite, 100% damage. That's pretty norm. But that frostbite is going to get stacked, right? Everything is doing some frostbite, which then plays into this whole frozen mechanic on the ultimate, as well as getting to the frozen state. Last but not least is going to be her passive, which I think is super impactful. It applies frostbite to an enemy for 2 turns at the end of the enemy's turn. At 5 stacks, applied frozen for 1 turn. So this literally is every single turn. At the end of the turn, that enemy's going to get a frostbite stack. Okay, so you're slowing down the team. That's like super impactful. Like we're literally, and then once it's ascended, it's a frostbite 2, which is negative 20%, and it's 4 stacks. Like I need you to step back and think about this. Like you're doing a built-in slow on a character, and it's passively doing it. So this is super impactful, and this is what Tia is extremely underrated. All right, the next character that we're going to talk about that's very underrated, that I think a lot of people are starting to warm up to now, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it out there right now, is going to be Yolanda. Now, Yolanda was one of those characters where not a lot of us were recommending getting Yolanda because she didn't have, like, she has a good kit. However, it was really hard to make her work extremely well at the beginning because no one had the gear, no one had the stats that really could utilize what she can do for you. So the reason for that is because, one, none of her abilities go off of her stats, right? They're all off of the character stats that are being applied. The thing that she does control that's really impactful is her ultimate, and I think her A2, and we're going to talk about that. So grants a shield to all team members for 3 turns. Shield strength scales with the amount of health lost by each member. So this is great for like a go second team where they've taken a hit. You put this on there and their shield just scales so much higher because they've taken already so much damage. The shield greatly increases crit resistance as well. So this makes her very, very viable for arena, for one. The other thing this makes her viable for is Queen of Tides. So Queen of Tides, you take a lot of AoE hits from the boss, which lowers your champion's overall health. And if you don't have a solid healer, you bring in someone like Yolanda. Yolanda then can proc this ultimate. Granted, it is a 5-turn, which sucks, but it's for a 3-turn on the shield. And there's a little bit more, couple more things she does that I'll make up for it. But then this will allow your team, right, to basically recover most of their health. Hopefully, given it depends on the team synergy, but it does help. Next thing is her A2, which is why I use her in my Queen of Tides 14 team. And that's because she grants a bonus turn to a team member at this end of the turn, as well as immune and attack up for 2 turns. So the reason why I use this on my Queen of Tides team is because I like this for Zatlux. This targets your highest attack champion. This is also super impactful for arena if you're using like Urzog in arena, or any other high damage dealer in arena. You let this go up, this gives them immune and attack up, as well as gets them a bonus turn at the end of the round. It's very impactful. And her A1 is essentially a cleanse. Deals 80% damage to the enemy and removes 1 negative effect from an ally. So she essentially has a built-in cleanse on her A1. So you allow her to go a lot, you give her some curse set, whatever the case may be. This can definitely cleanse a lot of your team pretty quickly. The other thing to note is this passive ability, which is so broken for arena. At the start of each round, grants guard for 1 turn to whichever ally has the lowest health. When guard is triggered or removed, enters a 4-turn cooldown. What does guard do? Essentially just saves you from dying. It's like a save your butt mechanic here. Super annoying for arena, super annoying when you're facing her in Void Tower or any other content. She's super slept on because she's extremely impactful in Void Tower, arena, Endless Trials, Queen of Tides. There's a lot of areas in the game that she's super impactful on and nobody wants to use her. All right, the next one we're going to talk about, this is one I'm starting to play with a lot. I really like him. I like what he can do. Is Mulhex. Now, a lot of people are sleeping on Mulhex, and that's okay. I'm going to make a video pretty soon, and we're going to talk about it. So why I like him is, one, he starts off with a lot of health. So you think, oh, he's going to be a build him in health, right? Decent attack, whatever, B crit rate, whatever. But what I like is the fact that even though this is a 7-turn cooldown, you pair him with the right people in the team, this procs like infinitely. It's really, really cool. So deals 200% damage to the enemy, applies defensive down for 2 turns, grants attack up to all team members for 2 turns. So ultimate goes, right? He then puts attack up for everybody. So you don't need a support unit for the attack up, which is good. If you put him with a lot of DPS characters, that's really impactful. And the defensive down, right? You guys like to see defensive down. This is a great trait. This means you got to have a little bit of focus on him. His A2, deal 100% damage to all enemies. So he's AoE, right? He's doing, so first attack is single, right? 200% damage with an attack up. Second attack here, this is an AoE, which is great. If this character has attack up, then launches a bonus attack with this ability. So you're going to do damage, and then you're going to do a bonus attack, right? So this becomes like a 2-hitter. Very impactful. The only thing I don't like is it is 100% damage here, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It can definitely save you in a jam, okay? His A1 deals 100% damage to the enemy with a 30% chance to apply the defensive down for 2 turns. This is pretty impactful as well because this is an A1. So you put him with like a joint attack character, like a William, right? Then he can kind of proc off and then possibly put the defensive down. And I know a lot of you are going to argue, well, William already does defensive down. You're correct, but he doesn't do it consistently, right? He does it consistently for one ability, but there's a cooldown. This at least gives you a chance to cleave the enemy and put it down again, as well as on this A3. But where he really shines is going to be his passive ability. Any attack by an ally affected by attack up against an enemy reduces this character's ability cooldowns by 1 turn. Okay? Now, and then once you get him ascended, it's an ally attack by any buff with a positive effect. So this means you bring in like a brand, something like that has like the shield every round. That means every teammate goes and reduces this cooldown. So you put him last in the rotation, and oh my God, just think about how fast he does these abilities. This is why I'm gonna do a showcase on him. Because cycling through this 7-turn cooldown is super quick. So this allows him like almost every round, every 2 rounds guaranteed, he can do this ultimate. So think about that. Like, I want you to think about the possibilities there. It's single target, which is a problem. However, in the right circumstance, right? Because not only does this proc often, this also gets reduced, right? It's reduces this character's ability cooldowns by 1 turn. So not only is it his ultimate, it's also his AoE. So think about this. You could constantly AoE damage as long as he has attack up too, and he's gonna do double damage. Like, I want you to think about the damage possibilities. They're there, okay? I like Mulhex, he's slept on. We're gonna do a video showcasing it because he's got a lot of damage potential that he can do. I use him in arena and farming. He's really good for glyph farming and adventure mode. Endless Trials is good. I used him in Void Tower. He did a lot of damage for me because everyone in there kind of critted, and I had joint attack with like Imogen, which also helped reduce the cooldowns on him, which is really neat. So he has a lot of potential. Definitely one of the most underrated legendaries out there. Next we're going to talk about is going to be, well, as some of you may call her, the Battle Chicken. I do not have her, unfortunately, so I don't get to play with her. However, I have used a lot of friend units, and people were excited for God Fairy. They got God Fairy, and they're like, I couldn't use her. It's whatever. They slept on her. Okay, well, I'm here to say you don't want to sleep on her. She's very, very impactful. I think he or she, you know, I don't know. It's an owl. Owl is impactful. The battle owl, we'll call it. It's got a 3-turn ultimate, okay? Deal 150% damage to an enemy and randomly transfers 1 positive effect from the target to all team members, removes all positive effects on the target. Cleanse, right? A cleanse that then shares a buff. Amazing. 3-turn cooldown, you can't get better than that. A2, deal 100% damage to an enemy and applies unhealable on the target for 2 turns. Also adds silence to the target for 1 turn. This is on a 3-turn cooldown, okay? Note, 3-turn cooldown here. So for 2 turns, they are unhealable. Okay, I want you to think of some possible areas of the game where unhealable are extremely impactful, all right? As well as steal and give away, okay? A1, deal 80% damage to an enemy and applies defensive down for 2 turns. Okay, so you already are having focus on her, on the owl, sorry, owl. So now it can do a defensive down on the A1. Guaranteed. There's no chance. It is just apply it, right? So it's going to be a focus check. Last but not least is his passive. Deal 80% damage to the enemy recipient of a positive effect with a 50% chance of extending the cooldown on the target's ultimate ability by 1 turn. Can be triggered once per round. Now, once God Fairy is ascended, this is 100%. What this literally means is what this translates to is basically, if someone has a positive effect, right, they take damage, and their ultimate ability gets procced out. So say, for example, first round goes, a brand's on the team. Okay, everybody's ultimate has now got pushed back. As long as this is ascended, their ultimate is on cooldown for 1 turn. Now this is going to be triggered once per round. Are you understanding this? Are you following me where I'm going? Super impactful. This is amazing. This is going to be God tier for arena. This has been a very, very helpful In Void Tower, I know a lot of people who don't have cleansers that are using God Fairy as a cleanser and a ultimate extender. It works well. I highly recommend you build up your God Fairy for that type of content. Endless Trials is kind of okay, not really needed. But the thing to also note here is this Unhealable. We use Unhealable with our Hollands for Queen of Tides, right? Those of you who know like the Holland strat for Queen of Tides, which I had to do a dedicated video on that just to showcase it for you guys a little bit better. But we care a lot about the no positive effects and the unhealable effect on the Queen of Tides. However, this chicken, or owl, sorry, not chicken, can place it. Super impactful, that's what you need. Then the right ad doesn't matter, you don't have to target the right ad. This means you can go faster and attack the main boss because 2 out of the 3 turns, they're unhealable. So you just gotta sync it correctly so the right ad can't heal the boss. Bada bing, bada boom, problem solved. On top of that, the shield will get placed. It can be stripped with this ability and then distributed. Think of that as well. It helps you, it helps your team. Trust me, the owl has potential. All right, moving on. Last but not least is gonna be honestly one of the characters that I fell in love with right away, that I was really bummed because they got fixed and now he's back, and that's Brand the Brilliant. So Brand the Brilliant, for those of you who don't know, he was broken when he first came out. His abilities did not work correctly, and he was the guild boss god, as well as any other content. He was able to do so much damage, and it was insanely broken and not really fair. They fixed him. He works intended now. I love him. So the reason why I love him and the reason why he made this underrated list is because a lot of people are like, I don't know what he does. He hits like a marshmallow. He does. You have 2 options with building him. You can build him in DPS gear, you can build him in non-DPS gear. I've built him in both, and here's what I've noticed. If you build him in DPS gear, as long as he's tanky enough, he does a lot more damage for you. But the thing to note here is it's automatically, as long as there's no healer on the other team, there's gonna be an end of game because he's taking 10% of the target's max health. So guaranteed 10 turns in, they're dead, okay? The other thing to note is even though it's 10 turns, it's also the A1 plus true damage equal to 3% of the target's max. This is true damage, so it's not 10 turns at this point, right? It's 1 turn there, plus however many turns he does a basic. Joint attack, curse gear, whatever the case may be, 3% damage is guaranteed gone. So you can literally take down 100% of the enemy. I'm sure you guys are probably thinking in your heads, like, I don't understand the impactfulness of this. And it's because as long as they can't heal up, they're gonna very quickly lose a lot of health because they're gonna take a lot more damage. And this guarantees the exact amount of health they lose. The other notable part is this rage counter. As the rage ticks up, it's so much more damage. Notice that this lightning compression damage changes because lightning compression damage goes to 150% damage to all enemies plus true damage equal to 20% of the target or 5% of the boss max health. Consumes all rage. So if you're just fighting in arena, right, 20% is gone. If you're fighting in the Void Tower, 20% is automatically gone on top of you've probably already used your ultimate, which was 10%, plus your A1 a few times. Just think of the amount of damage taken away. And then on top of this is the 150% damage as an AoE, which is very, very, like, it's a significant amount. Basic AoE damage is 100%. Ultimate right now is 120, plus this A2 ability is 150. That's higher than the average. Okay, that's a lot of damage that could be done. And this doesn't have to always be in a damage dealing set. You can put him in tanky gear and still guarantee the life of your targets going down in a set amount. The other thing to note is this ability here, and I like this ability, and it's so frustrating when you face a Brand the Brilliant. Grant Invincible for 1 turn under 50% health can only be triggered once every 3 rounds. What this means is Brand the Brilliant cannot immediately go into arena and get nuked down. So like Opal, Brand the Brilliant cannot be one shot because this ability saves them. At least one time it will save them for 3 rounds and then it'll save them again. If you somehow miraculously get them A2'd, it becomes a 2-turn cooldown. Makes them super impactful in arena. Brand the Brilliant, in my opinion, is one of the most slept on as well because nobody uses them in arena. and I understand why, because the meta's changed. But he's super tanky. Like, look at his stats. S tier on health. Hello? They built him to be tanky. Okay, that's awesome. His only A on attack, and that's okay. But 7K on his health. I mean, let's go over to Brand. Brand, you know, is an amazing support unit that has super high health. 7,900 S tier, 900 less. Okay, like still super impactful, right? The scale's so high with HP percent gear, so it's okay to build him tanky and just let him slow drag out fight the bosses. I like Brand the Brilliant for this. He's amazing. You pair him with a healer, pair him with like a hacker for the defensive up. You pair him with a lot of other support units, and you can just have long drawn out fights that guarantee you wins. He's an easy cheese, like I call him, for a lot of content. I could sit here and I could list all the content for you, but I've used him kind of everywhere. I beat Queen of Tides with him. I beat Ash with him. I beat Witch of the Winds. He was my first Witch of the Winds clear. Dragon, I couldn't get him to work properly in the Dragon, unfortunately. Void Tower, super helpful, especially in this rendition. Later, other renditions, he was amazing as well. In this trial, great. No Man's Land works great because it's set HP, right? Adventure mode, also great. Super tanky, like, you know, you can't beat like these mythic 10s or whatever. Throw them in there and just like cheese your way through it. It's fine. Slow comp, but it works and it gets the job done. I love Brand the Brilliant for this, and that's going to kind of conclude this top 5 underrated, because I feel like all 5 that I mentioned, the Tia, the Yolanda, the Mulhex, the God Fairy, the Brand the Brilliant, these are all 5 of the legendaries, in my opinion, that are very impactful on your account that you're probably not using, you're not wanting to build because you don't understand where to use them at. And they're very, very good when put in the correct circumstances. When paired with the right people, they shine and they are beautiful. They're highly, highly recognizable and very good champions, regardless of what any tier list says. So I definitely hope you guys take some time, look to see if you have these characters, see if they help you out in any content that I've mentioned. And yeah, let me know down in the comments below if this helps you. If not, let me know, and maybe next time I'll make another video that'll be a little bit different for you. So until next time, guys, peace.